In Henderson County right now, the average home is sitting on the market for 90 days before going under contract. But that average is hiding something important because when you look at the actual data, a significant portion of homes are going under contract in less than 30 days. And another portion are just sitting for 4, 5, 6 months with multiple price reductions before they finally sell. The difference between those two groups is almost never location and almost never the market. It's a handful of very specific, fixable things buyers are reacting to. Today, we're going to walk you through exactly what those things are from a buyer's perspective and what you can do about every single one of them before your home ever hits the market. We're Ryan and Suzanne with the LivePlayWNC real estate team in Hendersonville, North Carolina. We've helped homeowners all across Henderson County sell their homes using a peak home selling system, a process which we built specifically for this market to help sellers get prepared, get their home in front of the right buyers, and keep every dollar they've earned on the table.
And everything we do starts with one thing, knowing exactly what's happening in this market right now. Not the national headlines or last quarter's data, but what's actually happening in Henderson County and specifically in the 28739 zip code today. Because that's what helps you make a smart decision about one of the biggest financial moves of your life.
So whether you're thinking about selling in the next few months or just keeping a close eye on what your home is worth, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
So before we get into the list, let's spend a minute just understanding who the buyer is in Henderson County right now and how they're making decisions because it shapes everything that follows.
The dominant buyer profile in this market is equity rich, experienced, and selective. They're coming from metro areas like Atlanta, Miami, Washington, D.C. Many of them have owned multiple homes. They've seen a lot of properties. They know what deferred maintenance looks like behind fresh paint and a well-maintained home feels like the moment they walk in. They're not first-time buyers who will overlook things because they don't know what to look for. They're repeat buyers who know exactly what they're after.
And honestly, they have options. With 190 active listings in just 28739 zip code right now, a buyer who walks into your home and finds something that concerns them doesn't have to negotiate around it. They can simply move on to the next one. That dynamic of buyer selectivity combined with meaningful inventory is exactly why preparation matters more in this market than it did in 2021 when buyers were waiving inspections and competing in multiple offer situations.
So when we talk about why homes sit, we're really talking about the specific things that cause a buyer who walked in with genuine interest to walk out without making an offer. So let's go through them in order of how frequently we see them. The most common reason a Henderson County home sits is pricing, not location, not condition, but pricing. Specifically a list price that was set based on what the home sold for in 2022 or early 23, rather than what comparable homes are actually selling for right now.
The market has moved. Sellers are currently receiving 93.1% their original list price on average in Henderson County, down from 96.4% a year ago. Gap exists almost entirely because of homes that were overpriced at listing and had to reduce. Homes priced correctly from day one are still receiving close to 100% of the asking price.
The fix here is straightforward, but requires letting go of the number in your head. Your list price needs to be grounded in what buyers have actually paid for comparable homes in the last 30, 60, 90 days. Not what your neighbor got 2 years ago, not what Zillow says, not what you need to make the purchase work. The market doesn't care about any of those things. It only cares about current comparable sales.
This is where having a genuinely experienced local agent matters. Selecting the right comp for a Western North Carolina mountain property, accounting for view, the lot, access, the condition, and the neighborhood requires someone who knows this market specifically. A pricing strategy built on the wrong comp produces the wrong price, and the wrong price produces a home that ends up sitting.
Let's move on to the second most common reason homes sit or lose value under contract. That is deferred maintenance that shows up either visually during showings or in the buyer's inspection report.
And in Henderson County specifically, the items we see come up most consistently are the roof, the HVAC system, crawl spaces, and decks. A roof with 5 years of life left is not a deal killer, but it's a negotiating point. And an HVAC system that hasn't been serviced in years and shows its age during an inspection is also a negotiating point. A crawl space with moisture issues or inadequate encapsulation is a significant concern for buyers, and one that gets amplified in a market where Hurricane Helene raised awareness of water intrusion and a lot of drainage issues.
The challenge with deferred maintenance is that sellers often don't know the full picture of what's coming because they haven't had a fresh set of professional eyes on the property. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. They live there, you stop seeing things when you see them every day, and they're just areas of the home that you don't spend time in where issues can show up, like the attics and crawl space.
And this is exactly why the pre-listing inspection in the prepare phase of our peak system is what savvy sellers have done. We recommend every seller get a full home inspection before they list, the same inspection a buyer's inspector is going to conduct. What you find, you can address proactively, and what you address proactively, you can control. So what the buyer's inspector finds under contract, the buyer controls. The difference between those two scenarios is thousands of dollars.
The strategic question for each item the pre-inspection services is, do you fix it, do you price it in, or you disclose it? Not every item needs to be repaired before listing. Some items are best handled with a price adjustment or transparent disclosure that sets accurate buyer expectations. Your agent should help you make that call for each item specifically, because the right answer depends on the item, the price point, and the current buyer mix. The third category is one that's specific to Western North Carolina properties, and one that most national real estate content never really covers. There are a handful of issues that are common in this market and that buyers, particularly arriving from flat urban markets, flag immediately when they encounter them.
Steep driveway access is the first one. A driveway with significant grade is manageable for someone who grew up in the mountains, but for a buyer from Atlanta or Miami, it can feel genuinely intimidating, particularly post-Helene when road and driveway damage raised awareness of access vulnerabilities. If your driveway has significant grade, making sure it's in excellent condition, clearly passable, and well-maintained matters more than it did a few years ago. If it's sustained any Hurricane Helene-related damage that has been repaired, then have documentation of that repair ready.
Well, and septic is a second mountain-specific issue. Buyers using conventional financing have lenders who require well water tests and septic inspections as a condition of the loan. A well that tests positive for coliform bacteria or a septic system that's failing or at capacity is not just a negotiating point, it can kill a deal entirely. Knowing the status of your well and septic before you list and addressing any issues proactively is key to a smooth contract and closing.
Post-Helene drainage and water intrusion is the third item that buyers are now routinely flagging. Buyers are asking more pointed questions about flood history, drainage patterns, and water intrusion than they ever did before. If your property had any water intrusion during Helene and it has been addressed, then have that documentation ready. If you're in a flood zone, want to know your current designation and have your elevation certificate if applicable. These questions are coming regardless, so being prepared for them helps build buyer confidence rather than creating anxiety during that mid-transaction period.
The fourth reason homes sit is one that's entirely within a seller's control and one of the most cost-effective to address, and that's cosmetic presentation that doesn't just match the asking price.
In the $400,000 to $600,000 price range, where most of the activity is in Henderson County right now, buyers have high expectations. They're comparing your home to new construction, to recently renovated properties, and to professionally staged listings. So a home in that price range with dated wallpaper, worn out carpet, cluttered rooms, or listing photos that were taken on a smartphone is sending a message that the price and the presentation don't really align.
The good news is that the highest return cosmetic improvements are also the least expensive. Fresh neutral paint throughout might run $2,000 to $4,000 for a full interior depending on the size of the home. It's the single highest return pre-listing investment you can make. Professional cleaning, decluttering, and depersonalizing all cost almost nothing, but changes how a buyer experiences the space immediately.
Professional staging is the next level. Staged homes typically sell faster and for more money. And in a market where 54% of the homes are going under contract in 30 days or less, the difference between a staged home that generates immediate showing activity and an unstaged home that sits through its first 2 weeks is often the difference between selling at asking price and maybe that first price reduction.
And listing photography. This deserves its own emphasis because it's the single most underinvested element of most listings. The majority of buyers, over 90%, start their home search online. Your listing photos are the first showing. If they don't make a buyer want to schedule a visit, nothing else matters. We include professional media with all of our listings because we want buyers to have the best first impression online.
The next reason that homes sit in Henderson County is one that sellers rarely think about until they're already in it. The marketing reach of the listing doesn't match the actual buyer pool.
The buyer for a well-appointed Henderson County home in 2026 is not a local buyer typically. They're coming from other states, other markets, other time zones. They find properties through online search, through YouTube videos about the area, much like this, through agent relationships in their home market. A listing strategy that relies on just MLS exposure and a yard sign reaches some of those buyers, but a targeted digital marketing strategy that puts your home in front of buyers actively researching and move to Western North Carolina reaches most of them, if not all.
And this is where the difference between a more general agent versus a local expert with digital marketing strategy really becomes the most visible. Syndication to 700 plus websites, targeted paid advertising to the specific demographic profiles driving Henderson County migration, and video content that puts your home in front of buyers who are already searching this area. That's not a standard listing practice. It's a competitive advantage that we build into every listing we take.
The bottom line is this: a home that sits in this market is almost always fixable. Pricing, preparation, presentation, and reach. Every one of those variables is within your control with the right strategy and the right team. The 90-day average days on market is not fixed in stone. It's the result of homes that didn't get those first 4 things right. The homes that do get them right are still selling in 30 days or less.
So let's recap the 5 reasons that those homes in Henderson County sit on the market. Pricing disconnected from current comps, deferred maintenance that buyers discover, mountain-specific issues that aren't addressed proactively, cosmetic presentation that doesn't match that price point, and a listing strategy that doesn't reach the actual buyer pool. Every single one of those is fixable before you list.
The prepare and enhance phases of our peak system exist specifically to work through this checklist with every seller we represent, so that when your home hits the market, it is positioned to generate the kind of early activity that produces strong offers rather than sitting and waiting.
If you want to walk through what your specific home would need to be in the best possible position before listing, that's exactly the conversation we have in our initial seller consultation. The link below takes you to our calendar. We're Ryan and Suzanne McAbee with the LivePlayWNC team. Let's get you on the path to sold.